Welcome here today. I would really love to have a serious conversation with you about your voice and how it comes through in your content. This topic has been coming up a lot for the students in Content by Design and a lot with my regular clients, and I think it's valid for all of us. So if you have ever felt like you can't say what you came here to say, or like you have to soften to be heard, or if you've ever typed out an entire post and then hit the delete button until the browser was empty again, then this episode is for you.
Welcome to Unjaded. This is your straight talk, shoot from the hip, wrapped in a little bit of love, Human Design for Business podcast. We talk a lot here about clarifying your message so that you can bring in paying clients with ease. And ease is different from easy. Stick around to find out how we roll here. I'm your host, Vicki Dixon. I am a 2-4 emotional manifesting generator, light on the emotional, and I'm a quad right in human design. In real speak, I am an entrepreneur of 30 plus years. I've had every kind of business there is, and I always say that business is my love language. I can't wait to dive in with you here on the podcast.
I know that on this podcast, we talk a lot about your content. We talk about the kind of content that you need to be creating in order to compel people to work with you. We talk about the kinds of content not to worry about creating. We talk about how to format your content, how to use your human design to build your content, all things content. But I'm just sitting with this more and more and more the longer that I work in this area of human design and business. It's not about your content. And I wish that you could see me here. If you're watching this on YouTube, I apologize. This is the end of my day and this is on my heart. So I just wanted to speak it. So you're not getting a video podcast as well. But I could cry sitting here thinking about the women that I have worked with just this week alone who have such big conditioning on their voice. And we call this the witch wound. Now, I didn't realize that this was something that not everyone knows about. So I'm going to unpack it with you here. And if it's not new information for you, then just file this away. The witch wound is something that we consider most women having. And it is a wound that goes back centuries to when witches were burned at the stake. Because when women, aka witches, were burned at the stake, it was for speaking their truth. It was for bringing their healing energies, their healing tools, their healing divine selves to the good of humanity that the world couldn't stand for. And so the witch wound is real. And if you could see me, you could see that I keep holding my throat. This is the wound within you that every time you go to say the thing that you know that your people need to hear, you say the thing that is on your heart and soul that you know will move someone, and then you look at what you've written in that post, or you watch your video again and you hear yourself say it and you think, I can't say it like that. So you either delete it and don't post anything at all, or you soften it to the point of being so vanilla that it doesn't affect anyone who needs to be affected by your words. This is the work. This is the work that we are here to do, is peeling off the layers of that witch wound, freeing our voices. And yes, it will naturally come through in content. I wish that you could see the scads of content that I am seeing from the 43 women, I think, that are in Content by Design right now. And so many of them just on today's call talked about how there are things on their hearts that they absolutely know that they're here to say. And they cannot for the life of them say it. Because somewhere along the line, they've been told, you can't say it like that. You're too harsh. You're too assertive. You're too aggressive. You're too loud. You're too quiet. You're too whatever. Fill in the blank. People aren't very comfortable with you when you speak in that way. This is the conditioning of all women. And this is probably the conditioning of a lot of men too. I don't know. I've never been a man, so I can't tell you that piece. But I know that when I work with women, they feel this hard. And if you feel it too, if you feel like you have all of these things that you know you're here to say, but you can't bring yourself to say them, then I'm going to invite you into a practice that we talked about on Content by Design today on the call. So one of the women, she's a 3-5 profile, and I find that 5th line profiles have this conditioning more than any other profile line in human design because they are the heretics. They are here, they are born into this world to tell it like it is, to take no prisoners. But we know that that's not what we allow little 5th line girls to do. We never have. Hopefully we do now. And she said to me, Vicky, there's this phrase that I hear my parents say. Every time I go to say something online, I hear my parents say this phrase. And maybe you, dear listener, have one of those phrases in your head as well. And I make myself delete it. Every time I make myself delete it because I can't bust through this. What can I do? Can you give me some tools to start peeling these layers off? And the biggest one, I think, is going back to the first time that you heard that phrase or that someone told you that you couldn't use your voice that way. When was the first time you remember really thinking, oh, there's something wrong with me? Oh, I need to be quiet. Oh, I need to be perfect. Oh, I can't say it like that because someone will blankety blank blank. And really sit with that. Sit in the energy of what your little girl self took away from that. What did you internalize about yourself and the thoughts that you're here to speak and the things that you're here to share because of that one thing that was spoken to you? It may have been spoken only once. It may have been spoken 100 times. I have a phrase that came into my head the other day when I was doing some of this homework, because yes, it is lifelong work that we do. And I heard my father as plain as day say, better to be thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. Now, I hadn't really consciously thought of that in a long time, but I went to say something and I heard his voice in my head. And I share that with you because I would love for you to see how interesting it is that we decide we are going to build online businesses, which feels very much like showing up as your 50-year-old self naked at your high school reunion most of the time. We worry about being judged. We worry about not being good enough. We worry about not saying the right thing. We worry that someone is going to take what we say the wrong way. There are all of these things that we grow through as we build online businesses. And it's so important that we speak our truth and that we speak the message that's on our hearts, because that's what our people need to hear from us. Your people need to hear it from you. You need to hear it from me if you're here. And we can't do that if that record that's playing on repeat in our heads tells us some version of better to be thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. And then you go to do a podcast. Then you go to do a video. Then you go to do a live training or an Instagram reel. And that's the only voice that you're hearing in your head. How many times does it stop you from saying what you came here to say? So when I'm dealing with clients with their content, when we're talking about their messaging, which is most of what I'm talking about all day, every day, I always come back to the fact that your message is not about what someone else needs to hear. It's about what you need to say. And your soul knows what you came here to say. The thing that is stopping you from saying what you came here to say is all of the years, maybe decades of conditioning that you have away from speaking your truth. And little by little by little, you are invited to come back to that truth. And just like there are layers of the mask or the witch wound on your voice, there are also layers of truth under there. This is not a one and done process. You're not likely to go back and unpack that truth all at once. You're going to go and you're going to do this homework. You're going to maybe write in your journal. You're going to maybe speak to a friend, speak to a tree, speak to your dog, get it out of your body somehow. And then there's going to be something else that's going to come up. And as long as you are doing the work and as long as you are building your business, there's going to be something else that comes up around your voice. It's just the way it is because there are layers and layers of truth within you that long to be expressed. And I was reminded of this quote from Wayne Dyer today. I'm listening to the Telepathy Tapes podcast, which if you haven't listened to it, it is so good. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. And they were talking about life in other realms and it being only love. There is only love. And just like I heard my dad's voice drop in, I heard Wayne Dyer's voice drop in. I'm a huge Wayne Dyer fan and listen to his audiobooks. And in one of his books, he says, if you knew who walks beside you at all times, you would never feel doubt or fear again. If you knew who walked beside you at all times, you would never feel doubt or fear again. You do not have to do this alone, my friend. There is a tribe of women who are exactly your tribe, who are begging you to do this work that you came here to do, who are begging you to heal that witch wound so that you can share with them what you're here to share. And there is another tribe of women who have your back. I promise you, even if you don't see them, even if you don't feel them every day, we are there. Because a woman standing in her power is the revolution. So go find your voice and go be the revolution.